All right, guys, so today on the Hellstang build, we are going to be getting some paint onto our valve covers. So these are just some really old, Ford 5-liter/302 valve covers, aluminum, powered by Ford, all that cool stuff. And what I want to do with these is I want to change the color. I want to paint them blue. And you can see we've got some holes actually in here because we recently drilled some holes to be able to mount our brackets that hold the GM LS1. We actually have LS7 coils, but just an LS style of coil that's going to work with the Holley Terminator, and then the Holley dual sync distributor will be able to run those coils. So that's kind of why we have to paint these too, is just because now they've got holes in them, all that stuff. I ended up running my flap wheel over top of these two just to kind of shine up the top part. And I think what we're going to do is once we get these things fully painted, we'll let it dry for a couple days, and then I'll take the flap wheel and very carefully do the same thing. I'll come back over just to remove the paint, because trying to tape all this off would just be an absolute nightmare. So I think that's the easiest way. We'll take our flap wheel, go back over it. When I did that today, I didn't have any trouble, not hitting anything else. For paint, we're going to be using just some high temp engine primer, and just to basically get on some of the little areas where there's exposed metal, and then we're going to follow that up with this VHT wrinkle paint. So I'm a super big fan of the red wrinkle painted valve covers, but I didn't want to do red for this application since the car's red and it's not going to match the same color. So I said, hey, let's do blue. The block is already painted Ford blue, so hopefully this is kind of a pretty close match. But the directions for this paint say that we should do 3 really heavy coats, about 5 minutes apart, and then the heavy coat is what's going to give us the wrinkle effect. So if you guys don't know, I'm actually the master of super heavy coats and runs. I mean, I'm really good at that. So doing 3 heavy coats, that should be a walk in the park for me. And as far as prep goes, what I did was I just took some steel wool, some really abrasive steel wool, went over it, scrubbed it all with that. If you don't have steel wool and you just have some sandpaper, just a rough sandpaper, 150, 200 grit, maybe even 300 grit, would just be fine, just to kind of scuff it up. I also have some wax and grease remover. So we are going to take some wax and grease remover, just kind of wipe these down real quick, and then we'll get started with spraying the primer. Final step, now that we got the wax and grease remover all done, is I'm just going to take a tack rag, tack cloth, just go ahead and, get any little debris, dust stuff that's left over off there, some of the remnants of the paper towel, for example. But, guys, with any kind of painting, the prep is the most important. Throwing some paint on, that's easy, but all the prep that goes into it, getting it clean and smooth and all that kind of stuff, that's what really will make your paint job look good. So take your time, don't skimp on all that stuff, and it'll turn out sweet. Because what sucks, you do something like this and then you get through your car show season, and halfway through the paint starts flaking off, or all those kinds of issues, and you got to redo it the next year. So do it once, try to do it right, at least 80% right. That's usually good enough for me. I'm going to prime it, let that dry, and then we're going to try to do it. So let's go ahead and just get a quick, and we're just going to do kind of a quick light coat of primer. So whenever I paint, I like to do just kind of real light coats. Keep the can far away, especially that first coat. Just kind of let it get on there dry, and then it'll kind of be tacky, so you can go a little bit heavier, on your next coat. Now that we got the light coat of primer on here, you can kind of see where the previous paint, the black that was on there, and I think the black that was on there, that was sort of like a almost looked like a wrinkle coat finish too, kind of really rough. But you can just see where there were some imperfections in that paint, and we're just painting right over it. We don't really care. Again, that's part of the reason why I wanted the wrinkle paint too, is because that'll kind of mask any imperfections, right? Everything will just look all screwed up. So yeah, looking cool. So it's been about a half hour, and these things are pretty dry to the touch. So I think we're good to go. I think we can get our blue and start shooting some of this wrinkle paint on here. So I'm going to give it a try. Never done it before, so hopefully it turns out, halfway decent. So I shook my can for about what feels like 20 minutes, but it was probably 12 seconds. So real heavy coats. Start from the top down. Let's see what we can do. Ooh, nice and blue. Okay. 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 Real heavy. Come on. This is fun, just going real heavy. It also says, the first time to do it like horizontally, and then the next time when you do your second coat, you come back the other way. And then the third coat, they want you to do it diagonally. So you kind of get all the angles, I guess. First coat, donezo. And I got it really wet, and I think most of these little sags and stuff, I think that was there from the primer, from originally from the black coat. So I don't think that's from me. But what it says in the instructions is recoat every 5 minutes, so you don't want to wait too long. And then it says the the wrinkles oftentimes won't appear right away. It takes some time. I think as the solvents dissolve or whatever, then the paint kind of shrinks and wrinkles. So we'll see. Hopefully, I got that on there pretty dang wet, so should be good to go. Color-wise, I do think it's a little bit lighter probably than like the block, which is the Ford blue, which I kind of figured. That's okay. So I think when I see some of the like newer Mustangs, like maybe it's the new like GT500s, I don't know, some of the Mustangs I've seen where they do have like factory kind of blue, almost wrinkle painted valve covers. So I'm kind of hoping that's what this is, or kind of that's what matches. So anyway, give this some time to percolate, and we'll come back in a few and see what kind of progress we got, because right now we got zero wrinklage. It's been 5 minutes, so time to go ahead and hit up round 2. So just an update right now, there's like basically still zero wrinklage. Just looks like normal paint that was painted really wet. So we'll see. But it did say wait for like at least 2 hours, I think, to handle it, to touch it. So hopefully after this coat, we'll see. I probably got less than a half a can of paint left, so I don't think a third coat is in the books. And my local auto parts store does not have this in stock. I actually bought this from Amazon because it was about the same price, and it was in stock, and I didn't have to go drive to the store. So this was like 12 or 13 bucks. I'll put the link down below. You can get it too. But all right, let's do it. So again, last time we went this way, so this time I'll kind of try to go that way. See what we can do. Definitely got some runnage over on this side, so it's definitely wet enough over here. All right, so I think with this approach, we do have enough for another third coat. It says at least 3 coats, so that should be fine. So I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, just spraying around the perimeter, because again, the top of this, we don't care. This is basically all going to get grinded off and just be bare aluminum anyway, so let's wait. Here we go with round 3.
Trying to go on an angle this time, like they talk about.
All right, I think we got, I mean, we don't got a whole lot left here, but I think we got maybe just enough to do one final coat, and then we'll see. Finally, we are to the last coat. I think it'll be the last coat. There ain't a whole lot of paint left, so let's go ahead and spray this up. All right, tapped out. Oh, crap. All I see is runs. Just almost everywhere there's runs. It's like Niagara Falls on here. But I do not see any kind of wrinkling, so probably it's just because it needs to dry. Give you an update in a couple hours. We'll see what happens. So it has been about 21 hours since we got done painting these last night, and as you guys can see, there is definitely a whole bunch of texture. Some of it's even kind of weird looking where like the edges where it meets, it almost looks like sort of cracked. But overall, it's textured, baby. So there's some little spots where I'll get you guys in close so you can see it, but just weird little stuff where like maybe it's not completely even dry yet totally. So I'm thinking I'm going to wait probably till tomorrow. So that'll be kind of like 2 days, like 48 hours. And then we'll go ahead and hit it with the grinder and get all this stuff off. That way any debris that's going won't be kind of sticky or get stuck to it and can just fall right off. But you know what? Overall, pretty happy. Let me get you in close. So you can see it's pretty well texturized, right? So you can see kind of a weird little mark. I think that was actually the run that was there previously in the black, right? If you guys remember. But you can see some stuff like this where it almost looks like a crack, but it's not. I think it's where it kind of bubbled up and then just kind of fell over. So you got some stuff like that. I mean, this is the part you're going to see. You know, they basically sit. I just chipped something off there. Definitely still not dry. But, you know, it kind of sits on the head at an angle like this. So this is kind of what you see anyway. So that part looks fine. You know, that part, this is the front of the motor. So I think it's cool. And what was I looking at? Oh, same thing back here. I think maybe that's where there were some runs from before. But you can still see also where some of this stuff is still smooth. You know, it didn't, you know, texturize for whatever reason. So maybe just wasn't wet enough or something. All right, so it has been 48 hours, and today we're going to go ahead and get these the tops of these things grinded down so we can see the aluminum, expose the aluminum underneath. And I was going to use my 4.5-inch angle grinder with a flap wheel, and I since decided, you know, that might be a little bit risking it for the biscuit. So I decided to go and just get a little drum sander for my Dremel, and we're going to use that. That's going to be a lot easier. We're going to have a lot more control. I actually already kind of started doing a little bit of samples right here, and it was super easy. Took the paint off super quick. So we're just going to grab a chair, sit down, take my time, go slow, and just kind of grind all these out. All right, so we made a bit of progress, and then as we kind of started to come down, we started to realize some of this stuff is still a little bit gummy, and so it's starting to gum up the bit. So I think we're going to wait one more day. So right now it's like, it's probably only been maybe 42 hours, you know, something like that. Not even a full 2 days yet. So I think we'll give it another day. All right, so it has been another couple days, and my wife had a super awesome idea. She said, why don't you just get a razor blade and see if that'll take it off? And I started to do it a minute ago. And it looks like it works pretty dang well. So I think that's all. Look at that. It's way better than, I mean, we still might need to go back and polish it a little bit, you know, with the drum sander thing. But yeah, this is the hot ticket. Man, that is satisfying. So. All right, so just spent a couple minutes here and using the razor blade. So takes it off pretty good, but again, you're not getting all of it off, right? So I'm still gonna have to go back and hit it with this thing. All right, guys, so after a little bit, literally just took 5 minutes or so with the razor blade, just swiping that off there, and then I followed it up with our little drum barrel sander thing. And yeah, that's it. We're good to go. So now we can get these things put back onto the engine. I'm not sure if I'm going to completely bolt them down, but at least let's go get them up there and see how it looks. All right, guys, got these things just sitting on there. Got these new studs. Hopefully these things are long enough because they look like there's only going to be a couple threads there. But I got these things all the way tightened down, so we could unscrew them a little bit as well. But yeah, pretty stoked about it. I think it looks pretty cool. Definitely a little bit, lighter blue than the engine paint. You can see on this one kind of the weird little stuff, but no biggie. Once we get, freaking brackets on here, alternator bracket, man, it's going to cover most of this stuff anyway, but pretty stoked. Definitely looks better than that one, huh? So, for, hey, 13 bucks or so for that can of wrinkle paint, I think it's a little bit worthwhile upgrade. And then I probably will wait just a few more days, just to let these things dry. I've got to leave tomorrow for some work stuff. So maybe this weekend we'll actually get the coils and stuff bolted on there. But, good to go for now, just the way it is. So I think it's going to look pretty cool with the red. So give it a little bit of accent with all that blue. All right, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Catch you guys on the next one. Take care.